Yo, 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 yo. It's July 31st, 7:15 p.m. Decided to do this one earlier today to get it out of the way. Like I said, I think doing these late at night before I go to bed can interrupt my sleep. And I'm taking a little break to cook some food right now, so might as well get it done. And also, I've gotten a bunch of stuff to show and stuff that I got done today, so let's take a look. First of all, from yesterday, let's jump right into this. From yesterday, I showed, or I talked about how I made the smoke bombs, or the stun bombs, I should say. I made it so the stun bombs will now kill all the enemies nearby, and it will stun all the enemies that are further away, and it's a lot of fun to use, so I wanted to show you real quick what that looks like. Check it out. I also added the ability to now, for the sake of convenience, you can max out your inventory slots with one item if you want, instead of having to manually click each one by one, increment it one by one. Okay, so let me turn the volume up here for some emphasis. Check it out. Alright, ready? Especially, it's gonna look awesome on this group right here. Isn't that sick? Oh yeah, what you just saw there. Let me turn the volume down. The other thing that I added today was, I was thinking about the passive upgrade. I mentioned that I wasn't sure if I wanted to keep the current upgrade that was in the demo, which is it makes your dodge cooldown super short, so you can move around the map way faster. So like I said, I wasn't sure about keeping that in the demo just because it's not that useful in the first few levels of the game, and so I don't think it will interest players all that much. So ultimately it came down to a decision between two other possible passive upgrades to replace it with. One was to give players a second use of the special ability. Another one was to, actually I had three. Another one was to give you an extra life, add this little passive ability that automatically deflects a guy the first time that you would have normally died. And the third idea I had was to give you a slow-mo effect whenever you dodge. So if you play on the normal difficulty level, you already get a slow-mo that happens if you miss an attack, and that's there to help less skilled players have enough time to react when they do screw up so they can use the dodge. But yeah, if you get this passive upgrade now, you can intentionally trigger the slow-mo whenever you dodge, and it makes it really easy, and it looks pretty cool to set up attacks that way. So in case it's not already obvious, that's the one I decided to go with, because I felt like it's something a little different and new. Unlike, if it's the Girameki technique, you can use that twice. Well, it's already a thing you're familiar with, and it kind of just makes the game easier. I think that's something that would make way more sense much later in the game when it gets a lot harder. That's same with the extra life one. That's something cool, but something that'll make a lot more sense later in the game. I feel like the slow-mo when you dodge is a cool, fresh, new thing that you can get and try. It's a lot of fun to play with, and it makes the decision between now this really powerful, it's no longer the stun bomb, now I call it the whistle bomb, and the this new passive upgrade, this new sake upgrade that you can get. Makes the decision a lot more interesting and more tense because they're both really awesome now. So anyway, just gonna quickly show what that looks like. So you see it gives you like this cool slowdown where you can line things up really nicely. And so that it's not annoying, it does not trigger if there's no enemies nearby. I think this is also going to become really useful when later in the game there's going to be enemies that shoot bullets, and of course the archers who shoot arrows at you, and you can deflect, and you can destroy the arrows and you can deflect the bullets back at the enemies. So the ability to slow down time like this on purpose will be really helpful for that as well. And it feels great. It's It's a lot of fun to do. Dashing enemies too fast though. So yeah, so that's the two things I did for the upgrades, and then I had to update their names and the achievements for unlocking them, and yeah, add in all the functionality and all that. So what's next, and what I'm working on right now, actually. Did I do anything else you'd mention? No, yeah, that's basically it. So the thing I'm working on right now is whatever's left that I'm able to do for the optimization of the game. So hopefully get it optimized just enough for even truly ancient PCs to be able to play it. So far, I mentioned before, I added an ultra low graphics setting, which disables the post-processing effects, which is like a grain effect and bloom effects and things like that. Makes the game pretty damn dark, but whatever. It's I think does a decent job for older computers of increasing your frame rate. And I've discovered a few more things since then. Today I spent a good few hours profiling things and seeing if there's anywhere else I can squeeze stuff out. And it turns out one spot that I totally forgot about and didn't realize it can actually be pretty expensive is the fluid simulation for Genyu's smoke from his cigarette. So I'm going to add it probably to the very low graphics setting that it'll disable the smoke on that, and that should free up a little bit. I mentioned before also another optimization I already made is that I stupidly had 2 animators running on every single enemy. So I was able to get rid of the second animator, so I cut those in half. So that frees up a decent amount of space, hopefully. And then I'm going to try replacing some physics raycasts and overlap checks with these like non-allocation functions. It's a memory thing that's a bit more efficient. Maybe that'll make it a bit faster. I don't know if that's going to make a big difference, but worth a shot. And then I showed before that for the sake of making the collision detection more precise when you're aiming, to match up and animate with the character animations as they change, I turned all the collision shapes into capsules, and they stretch out when the characters are animating to match their animations. But capsules are more expensive for raycasts and overlap checks and other kinds of collision checks, so I think I'm going to try to switch them all back to spheres. I might have to keep it a capsule maybe for the archers, but wherever I can, I think I'm going to switch it back to spheres to simplify that, because it worked fine. That's what they used to be anyway. And maybe that'll save a little performance as well. And finally, the last thing will be when the enemies are off screen, I can probably completely disable stuff like the animator, the sprite renderer, and their collision for sure, and maybe some other stuff. And so perhaps by disabling all of those things whenever they're off screen or too really far away from you, that'll also save up enough performance. So hopefully with all of those things combined, it'll squeeze out just enough additional performance that hopefully anyone can run the game after this. And if it still doesn't help, sorry bro, you just gotta update your computer, man. There's only so much I can do. I put a lot of effort into this, so I really hope it's enough. I hope I didn't do all this for nothing. Yeah, so that's it for work for today. Camera's still running. I didn't run out of space. Good. In other news, I was accepted into the MIX Fall Game Showcase. So I've received responses from 3 festival/showcases now that I've submitted to. I'm 2 for 1. Accepted into 2, rejected from 1. The problem with this one is I discovered that even though I've been selected, they charge a $600 fee. So right now, I am in the process of trying to figure out whether or not it's worth it for me to pay that fee. I did some math on what would make it, at least, if it breaks even for me, that's good enough. But if I'm losing money on it, I look at it as right now, especially with money being tight, that's not a good bet. So doing the math, I came to the conclusion that I would need to get a bare minimum of 1,000 wish lists from participating in this showcase. And looking at the kinds of numbers they get on their streams and their videos, seems extremely doubtful I would get anywhere close to that. However, they do have a Steam page that shows up, I think, on the front page of Steam when the showcase is running, and you can get a lot of traffic from that, but it still raises the question of, will that convert enough into wish lists for my game? So it's really hard to tell. I kind of have my doubts. I don't know if it's enough exposure that would reach 1,000 wish lists, but it's possible. So anyway, I've got a few days to decide, and I looked at old showcases they had, and I found a game from some other guy that hadn't released yet that was participating in that showcase. So I sent him a message and asked him what kind of exposure he got from doing that, and we'll see whether or not, well, I hope he responds, because I really don't want to go and pay $600 blind not knowing what I'll get out of this. So hopefully he responds, and I'll see whether or not it'll be worth it for me to participate in this. But right now I am admittedly feeling a little skeptical of this. Not sure I'll get my money's worth out of it. And I've already spent money on some advertising stuff that has turned out to have been a bad move on my part, so I feel like I got to be really careful at this point and really smart about how I spend money on any kind of promotional marketing stuff. Yeah, so that's it for the game. Not much else to talk about there. As for, I didn't mention yesterday, my short video campaign, the new thing I'm starting, my new persona. I looked over my scripts again, and I was very happy with them. And in fact, I got inspired again yesterday when I was writing them and came up with an even better idea of how I'm going to write these and how I'm going to approach it. It's the same idea, but just the way that I've written it now, like I've really nailed what I want this new character of mine to be when I do these promotional videos. So yeah, I'm all in on it. I'm really excited about it. I think the scripts are pretty much ready to go. I'm just right now really in the middle of finishing this stuff up to do this kind of like, I'm looking at this now as one last update to the demo before I 100% jump into getting the next level done and finishing up the archers and all that. So yeah, I just haven't gotten around to actually making it because I haven't had the time, just working on this. So I'm hoping that I'll be done with all the work I'm doing right now either tomorrow or Saturday. So by Sunday night at the latest, that's my goal. I want to start pumping out these new videos, and it'll be just in time for the anniversary of the release. Well, the release of my first game and the beginning of my work on Six Samurai. So it'll be like a whole new phase starting on the 2-year anniversary of working on this game. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. I'm really pumped about this. I feel like I'm in an excellent place. I'm feeling really great. Everything is still going well, as I've mentioned the past few videos. Life is good. It's a beautiful sunny day out. Things are great. I don't know if I have much else to say today. Oh, there was one thing I was going to say. I think I actually pulled it off unintentionally here. Maybe not, I don't know. But I was joking around about how every single one of these daily diaries that I post, that YouTube automatically picks a thumbnail where I'm smiling or laughing. So I was saying how I was going to try to do a video where I don't smile or laugh at all, except for like one frame. Maybe something like that. But, alright. So we'll see whether or not YouTube will decide to use something from those last 3 seconds where I just pulled those faces. I'll test the algorithm here, see how it decides things. Yeah. Shit. Gotta remember not to do that. I have to make a very conscious effort not to smile and laugh. It comes to me way too naturally. I don't think it's just a defense mechanism for me. I think it's in everything. It's my automatic go-to response for everything. I think I made a video once where I mentioned this story, but I remember working with this girl once who came up to me and told me a story about how her friend was addicted to heroin. See, I already have to control myself here because I'm going to start laughing about this. But she tells me this story, and I started laughing because that's just how I respond to everything. And She goes, "Why are you laughing? That's not funny." And I was like, I don't know, I'm sorry. I just respond to everything by laughing. It's just my go-to response. So really, it's so built into me. Not only that, but I was thinking, I know my family has a bunch of home videos of when I was a baby, and I really, as a baby too, like all I ever did was laugh all the time, constantly. And it's like really over the top. When I was a baby, I'd be like, shit. Over the stupidest things all the time when I was a little kid. So, yeah, you see how difficult this is for me? But I gotta master this. My new character is gonna be a guy who does not laugh very much. He's gonna be not super serious, but I'm not a jokester anymore, people. I'm to be taken seriously. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. It's actually crazy how hard it is for me not to smile or laugh. I really need a 24/7 conscious awareness of this to pull it off. I'll do it. I'll pull it off. I think that's hard for me, and also not saying things in an ironic or sarcastic voice. I think I have a tendency to do that a lot too, no matter how hard I try. And I think sometimes it comes off that way even when I don't mean it to come off that way. It's not good. Allows me to live life with a certain air of lightness, of casuality about me, but there are many situations in which I should not be laughing, and I should not be smiling. New priority. I have a very long list of priorities at this point. I have a very long list of priorities at this point. There you go. See, I said that with a serious face, a serious expression, because I mean it. There's nothing funny about that. All right. I also wonder, you know how there's some kinds of people where even though they never smile or laugh, there's something intrinsically funny about them. Like they just have a face that's funny. I wonder if I'm like that. It's hard for me to tell because I've always been smiling and laughing. So I think it's easy enough for someone to see me as a bit of a goof, but if I don't ever smile or laugh, do I still seem funny? I'll let you decide. I'll let you and future Matt decide. All right. 10 more minutes to lentils. Gonna keep looking at this optimization stuff, try to get as much of this done tonight. Take one more, haven't been outside yet, gonna go for my walk, take another look at my scripts for the videos, get this stuff done tomorrow and Saturday, make those videos. It's gonna be sick. I'm gonna give you a look outside of this beautiful day as I conclude today's daily diary.